Hi, my name is Rabbi Dunner. Welcome back to my weekly Erev Shabbos Dvar Torah. There is a well-known ambiguity about Noach's righteousness that has injected itself into Jewish consciousness. It's been preserved since the dawn of Jewish history. Parshat Noach begins with a pasuk that describes how wonderful Noach was. Noach ish tzadik, tomim hoya b'doreisav, es Elokim es halech Noach. Noach was a righteous man, perfect in his generations. Noach walked with God. But Rashi throws a spanner in the works. Yes, Noach was righteous, but according to one opinion, that was only in his own era. Had he lived in the time of Abraham, of Avram Avinu, he would not have been considered very special at all. Really? Why not? Why would Noach have been eclipsed by Abraham? Rashi explains, while Noach walked with God, Abraham walked ahead of God. As expressed in the pasuk later on, his halech lefonai, Abraham, says God, walks in front of God. It is obvious that there was a significant difference between Abraham and Noach. And we know that we, the Jewish people, are the spiritual heirs of Abraham, not Noach. But what exactly does this all mean? What is the lesson here? The Midrash answers with a parable. A father was once walking down the road with his two sons. He turns to one son and says, "Give me your hand and we'll walk together." And to the other son he says, "Go ahead, you can walk in front of me." "But Dad," says the older son, "why won't you hold my hand as well? Why can't I walk with you?" "My dear son," says the father, "your brother is still young, and I'm afraid that he will fall down if I don't hold his hand. You are older than him. I'm not worried about you walking on your own. You'll be fine." The difference between Noach and Abraham was just the same. Noach may have been righteous, but that was only because God walked with him and made sure he didn't trip up and fall down. God knew that if Noach's faith was challenged, he could fall. God needed to hold his hand. Es Elokim hisalech Noach. That was his safety net. Without it, who knows what could have happened. But Abraham's faith was much stronger. It was firm. It was independent. In fact, Abraham was so safe that God could tell him, "Go on, walk ahead of me. I'm sure you'll be fine." The Mashgiach of Mir Yeshiva and later on Ponevezh Yeshiva, Rav Chazkel Levenstein, once mentioned that he had heard that the Chofetz Chaim said that there would be a second war which would cause the First World War to pale into insignificance, and after that there would be a third war which would make the second war appear like nothing. His audience was quite shocked. What a thing to hear! There would be a war worse than the Second World War with the devastation that caused, and the Holocaust. One of the people in the audience was a young man who went on to become a famous Musar Magid, Rav Shalom Shvadron. Somehow, he found the courage to ask Rav Chazkel Levenstein why it was necessary for him to say something so negative, so disturbing, so tough. Can't we just pray to be saved from terrible events in the future without having such a devastating prediction hanging over us? He asked. Why should there be a war worse than the one with the Holocaust? Rav Chazkel became very agitated by Rav Shalom Shvadron's question. "You completely misunderstood what the Chofetz Chaim intended with these words," he said. The Chofetz Chaim wanted us to know that the worst thing that could happen is for us to lack emunah, to lack faith in God. During the First World War, emunah decreased as the Jewish world suffered tragedy after tragedy, but that was nothing compared to the terrible faith crisis during the Second World War. "And you think that was bad?" he asked. "The loss of emunah that will occur during the Third War will make everything that preceded it as if it's nothing. And you can't strengthen emunah with prayers, with davening. You can only strengthen emunah by strengthening emunah. I'm telling you, fortify yourselves with your faith in God so that you can remain standing when everything collapses around you." My friends, this is exactly what Rashi meant when describing the difference between Noach and Avraham. Noach needed support. His emunah was fickle. It was weak, so much so that it would collapse at the first hurdle. But Abraham's emunah was totally different. He drew his strength from himself and walked in his righteousness on his own. His emunah was so strong, and that is why he was the patriarch of the Jewish people and not Noach. Abraham's emunah is the kind of emunah we should all aspire to. Wishing you Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for watching. Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.